And so now it's recording. Sorry. And then, so then you have. So you know Bill from Chehalis.
Yes. He came back and he came down to visit me, and we got married. Okay, and I really really cared for him.
So that's you're in L.A.
Yeah.
He's in
Van
Chehalis.
Nuys. I was in Van Nuys. He was in the Navy,
Okay.
and he was in the Navy all the time, and so he he adopted Terry at a later date. Yeah.
Uh huh.
So that's why he's Terry Hogan. Yeah.
Right.
But and Darcy. Oh well. Anyway, I had no contact with my mother. I had contact with my mother. I had no contact with my father. And I didn't know. I knew he was up in Washington, but I didn't know what. At that time, my mother was living with. I moved back up to Washington, and my mother was living in Montesano, and then Bill Hogan was with the military police.
Wait, so you're in Washington now?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
We were in Seattle.
Uh-huh.
And my mother lived in Montesano with Dot.
Okay.
Okay. With her cousin, or her niece, actually, although they were the same age. He was head of the military police at the police department in Seattle, and his job was to check every day whoever was picked up, and if they were military, then he had to do something about it. One day he came home and he said, "Your dad is in jail in Seattle." And I said, "How do you know?" And his name was Haven Boomer. It's a pretty weird name. So apparently he went in and he was an alcoholic that they picked up again and again and again and again, you know. So he went in and he asked him if he was from Chehalis, and he said yes. And he said, "Well, do you have a daughter?" And he said, "Well, yeah, you know," because he'd never been in contact with me. So anyway, he came home and he told me, and I didn't know anything about my father. So I went to court, and there were reporters in there, and I had to plead with them. My mother's cousin was the head of the board of whatever it is, provost for University of Washington, and there were some very prominent people, and I did not want them put in the newspaper, you know. So anyway, I went to court and pleaded with them not to say anything about him, you know, and they didn't put anything in the newspaper about him. I agreed at court to take him into my home and take the responsibility for him. He came to live with us. And I don't remember. I had Michael. Michael was a tiny baby. And I had not had Darcy yet. And I was in the bedroom making the bed one day, and very few people know this. I don't think I want to tell you.
What?
I don't want to.
Well, I'll stop it.
Yeah.
And then do that.
What happened? Okay, yeah, stop it.
Okay.
I was in the bedroom making the bed, and he came in and he threw me on the bed.
Wait, this is your dad?
My dad threw me on the bed, and I just bounced onto the other side and pretended nothing had happened. And I walked out and I called Bill and I said, "Look, this is what happened. I am terrified of him. I've got to." He had the police pick him up immediately and put him back on the street, essentially. And so I said, look, I'm afraid to stay here, because he used to call the house. And so what I did, I went down to visit my mother. No, I went, and Bill arranged to be transferred from Seattle to Bremerton. So we just moved out, and in the meantime, they kept him in jail. So he didn't have any idea where we were going or anything like that.
Uh-huh.
And I told my mother, when I told my mother that I had taken him into the house, and she said, she was still terrified of him. And she said, please don't tell him where I am. So I never did, I didn't, never said anything. But that is something that doesn't have to be recorded.
Well, so was he, so he was violent, or like a drunk, or like kind of where does that,
He
like
was an
what
alcoholic.
was,
He
right.
was an alcoholic.
Well, there's different flavors of that.
I know that, but he was a true alcoholic where he would, and the law in Washington at the time, they go to jail for 10 days, they turn him back on the street, they go to jail again for 10 days when they pick him up for DUIs or whatever it is, he didn't drive or anything, he was just on the streets in Seattle.
Right.
So it was, and I don't tell people things like that, and I certainly don't want it recorded.
Right. So
Obviously,
well,
he was going to try and rape me, and I just.
Wow, his own daughter? That's pretty crazy.
That's right.
So he was
I
pretty.
knew
he was,
exactly
he was
what
pretty
he was
out
doing.
of control.
Oh, absolutely. And he hadn't seen me for many years. And it's really funny because I have a friend, Donna, who does a lot of genealogy, and does it for fun, and she does it for people, and she's found out some amazing things. So we were talking one day, and she had done it for me, and I said something about my father, and I said, he has a weird name, his name is Haven Boomer, The next morning, she came in, or the next day, when I saw her, she had his entire history, every city he had ever lived in, every job he'd ever had his entire life, who he would have been married to, and everything. She's just amazing. Those people, when they go into it, you have no idea of all the stuff they can get
Right.
into.
So what did
But
what was?
Oh, he had died, and I knew he had died. I was
But
sure.
so
he
was
died.
that the last you ever saw him?
Oh yes. Oh, absolutely. I wanted nothing to do with him.
Right. So he was back in Seattle or in
Yeah.
Chehalis?
He was back in Seattle. He was in Seattle.
So basically on the street.
But he had been married twice more, two more times after my mother, and he was buried in an Indian cemetery. I have all the papers and everything of the stuff. She had, you can go to the,
It'll show up right here.
What?
It will show up right here. Hang on, this keeps going to sleep on me here. So if I click on him, it will show you Pateros.
Yeah, that's an Indian reservation.
Right.
Right.
So yeah, you can see a whole lot of.
It's amazing.
A whole lot of info on here,
It's
like all the
amazing.
censuses,
Yeah.
all
See,
the stuff
I never
where he
knew.
lived.
Here, okay,
Like
go
all
back.
the city directories,
Right,
it shows
everything.
you like what he does.
Absolutely. Go back.
So
Go
if I
back.
Go up.
I never knew he had a sister or a brother.
Right. They're half brothers.
Yeah, but I never knew. I see here. So I could not possibly have seen my grandmother. It must
Right,
have been
she
somebody
died in
else.
1918.
Yes, long before I was. Yeah.
Well, it could have been somebody that was his stepmother who
Right,
married
right,
his dad.
right. But she had all of this.
Yeah.
The next day, I just could not believe it.
No, we went to a place that was Olivia and I drove past
Yeah.
in Tacoma.
Mm-hmm.
So there was you can generate a map and you can see like where relatives lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh, for
And
see,
so there's
I was
stuff
bored.
in
I was
Tacoma.
amazed when I was born. We sent baby stuff to the Tacoma General, and that's where I was born.
Right.
It's amazing. See, he has, yeah, his mother. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me see. So, I mean, you can see literally addresses. So if I look at this, you can see old city directories,
I know.
right? Which
Yeah, it's amazing.
basically,
Mary,
it's like a phone booth,
Mary,
phone book.
you know, her mother died, and her mother never told her, but her father had died, had been married twice before, and she had brothers and sisters in the Midwest.
Right. And
And
didn't
she
know
found,
that.
yeah,
See, this is him in Bellingham.
yeah,
that right?
that's where, yeah, I knew we had lived there.
So he'd worked as a clerk. So
Yeah.
that's when he's married to your mom. They
Yeah.
lived on
I don't
Forest
know.
Street, 363 Forest. So you can find out all this,
Yeah,
all
it's
this
amazing.
information.
It's
pretty.
amazing.
But when I remember looking at this, is it looked like they moved around a lot.
They must have, yeah.
So this is in Patero, or not Pateros. This is in
Oregon,
Portland.
yeah.
Uh,
Well, my mother, I didn't know we lived in Portland.
so that's 1933.
Okay, I didn't know that.
So this is. Let's
Well,
see
it was
here.
during the Depression, you know.
1931 at Bellingham.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense. I was 4 and I picked things out of the
And then,
building.
let's see. This
That's
is.
amazing.
That's 31 in Spokane.
Yeah. I
So
knew we had lived in Spokane.
You can see
Good
addresses
God,
there.
Yeah, that's amazing. See, my father was the department manager during the Depression. You took any job that you
So
could.
was the Depression, I mean, the Depression was everywhere, right? I mean, it
Oh,
affected,
the whole country.
yeah.
They had,
So Haven Boomer,
yeah,
clerk at Sears Roebuck, and he lives in
wow,
on
wow.
Forest Street. Anyways, it's pretty amazing.
It's amazing what you can, well, she just pulls this stuff out of nothing, and I would never have known there were things like this, you know.
Yeah.
God.
So,
So you could
But-
spend your whole life doing this. you
right.
know?
How does, so he's, so there's a big gap there from when you're like 6 and you go to LA, and then all of a sudden you shuttle forward. Like, how old were you when that happened?
When I went to LA?
No. When you went back and you were, and so now you had Terry, you had Mike, but not Darcy.
Oh, no,
and that
no,
whole thing.
that's, you know, that's way after my high school and everything.
Right.
Well,
So, I
then
mean, are you like in your 20s now, or where do you think you are?
I was, let's see, I was 19 when I had Terry,
Uh-huh.
and I was 28. There was 11 years difference for,
Between Terry and Mike?
no,
No.
between Terry and Darcy. So there'd be 9 years between Terry and Mike.
No, there couldn't be that much.
Mike was born in 1952. Darcy was born,
But-
yeah.
But wait, hang on, because Terry was only 17 years older than me, and Darcy was 11 years older than me.
Oh, okay.
So there must have been a
That's right.
smaller
Wait a minute,
gap
That's
there.
right. There was 11, wait a minute. I don't remember what year
Well,
Terry was born.
So,
When-
Terry, hang on, let me shuttle over here. Terry was born in 47.
Okay,
Mike is 52.
yeah,
Darcy's 54.
right,
And I'm 64.
okay.
So
all
she's,
right.
yeah, 10, 11 years older than me
Yeah.
usually.
I know. Because what I remember mainly about you when you were a little baby was that Darcy loved to take care of you, and she'd put you in your stroller and go the whole neighborhood, go out and play badminton, you know, and put you underneath the table.
Mm. So Terry. So tell me more about Terry. Like, so he ends up. So you're in Washington, and then what? And then you have Darcy.
And Michael.
So yeah, you had Michael at this point,
Mhm.
right?
Went over to Bremerton. Darcy was born there,
Okay.
and
And you were living where?
in Bremerton.
Uh huh.
My brain is not, you know.
You want to take a break?
Yeah, I need a break or something to
Okay.
think about this because I think this is enough for today.
Okay.
I just,